Welcome back to season 5 of Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of Comicbook.com. We didn't expect to be here tonight. Right now, we are hopping on a live reaction podcast. We had this all set up for tomorrow morning. We were getting up bright and early and going to hop on with this Grand Theft Auto 6 GTA 6 trailer. But the internet and the game is the game, and it leaked. So therefore, Rockstar was like, we're not going to just let this cook overnight. They dropped the trailer. Now we're all scrambling. Everybody in media is scrambling. But hey, we're Comic Book Nation. I got a team of pros with me. I got our producer, our guy fresh out of jail and out here GTA dreaming. Jim Viscardi's with me. Connor Casey's with me. Our comic book gaming expert, Logan Moore, is with me. And fellas, let's just jump right in. The trailer is playing right here next to us.
This is the most Florida trailer I've ever seen. Like this could be a trailer for cops, and I would not be able to be told the difference. And because of that, I friggin' love it.
It is like the makers of like Rockstar just went down to Florida these past 8 years since I've seen a GTA game, and we're just like, so how crazy really is this place? And then they were just like, oh, then they barely survived, got themselves into like a recovery hospital for a year, and then they finally came out and were like, I think we got something here, and then they just started making this game. But yeah, the reactions are interesting. There's a lot of Florida jokes already being dropped. I've already seen a lot of things about people from the Black community being like, man, this is going to set us back worse than San Andreas, but I'm still in. I'm still so in. And I'm like, yeah. There's yeah, you can already see there's some heavily hate. We haven't seen this much Haitian mayhem since like Bad Boys 2, I don't think. So yeah, there's already some interesting things. But in all seriousness, I think that's a testament to like the game design, at least, right? Yep. Like this instantly makes, as Jim said, this feels like if you and we do this show for just for like context. We are in Nashville, a lot of us. I think all of us here, right? Like, yeah. Okay, so yeah, Florida, the Keys, like this is our destination for vacation now.
Close to home.
And it's a little too close to home, and there's a lot that you recognize in this, from the old man in the Speedo watering his plants with a visor on to just so much of this
into the gas station.
The gun wielding lady in the muumuu with the two guns, like I've seen that.
And just the landscape. There's obvious shot overhead of like what looks like the Keys. There's just like those weird backwater towns or those backwater roads in Florida where you're like, am I still in America? Like where am I? And I hope I find something soon in the next hour. It's all here. So that's the first thing. I mean, we're just kind of we haven't even gotten to the meat and bones of like what is going on in this game. It's just
Logan, how much of this do you think is gameplay and how much of this do you think is CGI?
I think a lot of it looks like it's CGI. I mean, I assume it's maybe in engine, I would imagine. Like that's the thing I've been trying to figure out since this dropped. It does look like largely cutscenes though, and I don't know. I think a lot of people have probably been doing this over the past week, like going back and watching the GTA 5 trailers they released before this one, and a lot of those I think were in engine as well, but they were mainly pulled from cutscenes. I assume it's the same thing here. Regardless, it looks incredible. I mean, like Red Dead 2 looked incredible, so it was clear that we were going to get another big jump from that game to this one. I'm still waiting to see gameplay that has not leaked on the internet as of this past year when that whole debacle happened. Yeah. But yeah, speaking to what you were saying before, Kofi, about just like this being like very clearly Florida, I think the thing that stands out to me the most is that like this idea that we are going to go back to Vice City in this game is something that has been rumored and talked about for so long and again leaked. So we kind of knew that this was going to happen. The Vice City in the old Vice City game, though, there's like a glitz and glamour and a certain shine to it because it's got that 80s coat of paint on it. I don't think it really clicked with me until I saw this trailer. Like, oh, this is not that anymore that we're going to. This is modern Florida, which is like a dystopian wasteland in some sense. And that's really fun. And that's far more enticing to me than I think just the promise of like, we're going back to Vice City, because that feels like a retread in some ways. And this is far from a retread.
Vice City was more of a timepiece than it was anything else. Like this is as modern day Miami as we're going to get. It feels like.
Yeah. Now, Logan, question for you. We didn't get a date, but we did get a year. with it being 2025. How different do you think the game is actually going to look then compared to what we're seeing here?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the launch date stuff because they've been saying too, like in some of their like Take-Two has been saying in some of their previous like investor calls, like, oh, we're expecting a huge windfall of cash in this area specifically. And it's like, well, what the heck is that going to be other than GTA? And so I think they've been pointing to their next fiscal year. So that means that this would be out at the latest by March of 2025. So we're about 12 to 15 months away here. This is going to be pretty reflective of what the final game is. And they're probably just in a polishing stage for what open world games need, which is a ton of polish for all kinds of crazy bugs when you're making a sandbox game like this. I can't imagine it's going to look drastically different from what they're showing here, but we could be surprised, I guess.
Be remiss to call out, I think one of the cool things about this is obviously it's the game's first female protagonist, but it looks like it's really like a duo in a sense, right? That seems to be like a
Bonnie and Clyde type thing.
A very Bonnie and Clyde kind of thing. So that'll be that'll be very cool. I think one of the other things too that it is like there, and someone had mentioned it in the comments, right? Like the scale of this, right? Like how big of a map are we going to get and how realistic is it going to be? Like, look, I don't know if anyone's been to Miami before, but like it can take like a half hour to get to an hour to get from one side of Miami to the next. And, if this is going to be, to scale, you're going to be driving your beat up car from one side to the other, and it's going to be 30 minutes are going to just be gone.
I mean, think of how big GTA 5 still is by like modern open world standards, and then remember that game's going to be 12 years old by the time this comes out. So like, they're going to go really crazy with the scope and scale of this thing.
I'm thinking cargo plane. Yeah, I'm thinking a lot more Donnie Brasco, or not Donnie Brasco, but a Blow cargo plane style like life that you're going to have to live in this to kind of get around. But I want to talk about the protagonist in this story. I did like that this, even with all the spectacle, set up a very already you're just like, oh, here we go again, when they're just like, trust, we're going to trust each other. And there's going to be this Bonnie and Clyde duo. And I'm sure that's all going to go really well. It'll be interesting to hear people's, the gaming world's commentary on this relationship dynamic. Will be, if there's anywhere I'm going for relationship analysis, it's the gaming community. So this is going to be very interesting to see when it happens. But this place does look like you're going to be lucky that Vice City will be like a nice hub of where you can go in this game, as opposed to some of the other terrifying places that it looks like we can venture into. But
it's funny. I made the joke earlier. I'm glad we're able to do this right now, because we probably won't be around to do this for GTA 7. Well, we may be dead at that point.
Like you mentioned that in our Slack over here to the side, like, oh, somebody write a story about how they're talking about GTA 7. I'm going to be like 45 years old when that game comes out. Like,
right.
I
was thinking about that today.
I'm praying I won't be a grandfather when Red Dead 3 finally drops. Like,
it is not a joke to say that when this game came out, I got this game, and I remember 5 because my wife was pregnant, and she was like, buy a PS4, get this game. She was like, I want to watch you play it, and she did. And she was like, I want to do something while I'm pregnant. And she was like, this is probably the most fun you're going to have in the next few years, so enjoy. And so I did, and now I have like a nearly 10-year-old, like, you know what I mean? Like, I have a whole ass kid out here, and it's just like, I haven't seen a Grand Theft Auto. I've seen another kid before I've seen another Grand Theft Auto. So that's really absurd. There was something, now I'm just like going on my life. There was like an actual question I had about Grand Theft Auto and about this kind of gameplay.
Well, so there's
I was going to say the gameplay. I feel like we are going to get something close to this. Like, I feel like while this is cutscene and engine, that they are kind of drawing from a lot of the actual kind of core look.
Right, like that beach scene feels like it's in engine. There's a few shots that feel like it is the camera just passing by stuff that's happening. Which, I mean.
Oh, there's the question that I had. Yes, thank you, Peter, producer, keeping us on track. There is this thing that I got from the trailer, which I have not followed like all the hardcore leaks over the year on this, that I just kind of like to play the games when they come. But there seems to be this whole element of kind of mirroring our social media world in this world that I'm very curious about, like to see how that gets used and integrated in the game and all the meta ways that gets spun out into real world interaction. Also, quick shout out to the guy we've had to write multiple articles about, that Joker man, that Florida man who got his face tattooed like the Joker.
Oh, right. I
he's
didn't even.
definitely
Right.
in here. Yeah,
That's what that
he's
is.
definitely. I've written so many articles about that guy that I know his face.
Oh
and I see
man,
him in
I
the game,
forgot
and I'm
about
like,
that
oh
guy.
my god, yeah. So they really nailed the Florida elements of this, like straight from the headlines. But Logan.
I was gonna. I mean, to go off what you're saying, like that's the thing I am most like. Yes, there's going to be a main story here. They're going for a Bonnie and Clyde thing, but like the satirical elements of GTA is what I love the most. Like the radio stations and the commentary on modern day America. That is the stuff I'm looking forward to seeing the most. And obviously, we don't get a super great idea about that just from this brief 90-second trailer. There's been a lot of rumors and conjecture. I mean, this has been the most rumored reported game in the history of forever. So who knows how
an entire cottage industry of online journalism has now been destroyed.
Yes, exactly. But like there's been a lot of rumors that like they're going to try to like punch up a little bit more in this game with their satire rather than like punching down as they have in some of the older games. I'm curious what that's going to exactly look like. Like they're just it's in some ways this looks very much like another GTA game, and also like everything we've heard about is like, no, this is like we're going in a completely different direction here, which makes sense again given the 12-year gap we're going to have between games. So I don't know, like it is just GTA 6, but it's also not GTA 6. This is going to be probably like a full-blown reboot of the whole series to some degree.
Sure. But the social media aspect of it too feels like the perfect replacement for the radio, right? Because like in the older games, like the radio was the window into the world around what was going on, in the game. And now like doing the taking the TikTok angle and Instagram or whatever is a fascinating way to explore all that.
And then how do they merge those elements with like the social elements that have been in the games before? I think of like, GTA 4 cousin, let's go bowling. Like that sort of stuff. Like you just kind of blend it all together and you have like, they can blow up the smartphone aspect of this game even further, which is what I imagine they'll look to do.
So for those of you asking for GTA 7, it's going to be 20 years at this point, because there's going to be so much that they're going to be able to just play off of in this game that you're just going to have to wait.
I'm just going to say the satirical elements before we leave it behind. Like, I hope that they do a thing where instead of like underworld stuff like the old games, you actually have to like use social media to get your clout up and to do that kind of stuff and like making Instagram story posts with you and your gang. Like, I mean, I don't know how much people listen to Florida rap, but like, yeah, those boys down there are different. Like they got a whole world down there and it is very different. So I hope you have to get into that just so, like crazy aspect of it. Like, yeah, you're a much better criminal if you can just get on Instagram and flex all your guns and your money you've made and all that stuff.
Go full John Morant with it.
Baby. Stop. But I hope it's part of the game. Like, I mean, that'd be a fun use for like screen captures and stuff. If you like have to like record yourself like while you're like riding a car or something like that. Like, yeah, that is going to be nuts. I'm sorry, but go ahead. You were moving on to a better point.
I was just going to say, like, again, a lot of this is centered around the story. They're going to quadruple down on like the online elements of this and the GTA online aspect. So what the heck is that going to look like? I mean, again, that's where the larger scope of the world is going to really come into play. But I would imagine most of the reason why this thing has been so long in the works is because they're trying to figure out how to really, like, everything has been live service the past couple of years, but we've seen a lot of live service games come out and fall right on their face. And this is one that will not happen at all. Like, this is going to be a huge thing, but what's that going to look like in theory? And I don't know. This is like a great tease for like everything else that we're going to see over the coming year when they start dropping more and more of these trailers.
Well, I think the other thing too, while like the graphics aren't revolutionary, I would say, but the game is being dropped in a very interesting time in like just the console life cycle, right? Like PlayStation 5's been out for what, 3 years now, right? Like this gen, we're in like year 3 basically. And so it'll be interesting to see Right, like I've got to imagine this game will push both systems to kind of its limits in a sense, right?
You would hope. I feel like everybody's still waiting for that like next gen game because everything else has been on the other consoles kind of so far. And we haven't seen what they can really do. So hopefully this is a technical performance pusher. I don't know if it will be, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think also Rockstar doesn't. I think there's an element to this where they want to make sure that, because I feel like Grand Theft Auto has been a game where, for all their success, there's also been people who have ended up making money by taking the game and then doing their own things with it. And I think they're trying to, and I think they're trying to make sure that that money kind of comes down the funnel back to them. And I'm kind of with Logan. I wonder what they've been cooking up under the hood to take this into like more, like I said, the social media thing looks like a bridge. The online play looks like it could be a huge bridge to like what the interactivity and what they're pushing the technology to do. If it's not, because I don't need Grand Theft Auto to have that crazy graphics. I need it to still look like the kind of weirdly cartoonish Grand Theft Auto I know and love. But there's so much more they could be doing with this, with the new tech now, in terms of just getting things that can run and how big it can be and what that sandbox can be. So I'm very interested in that, into learning kind of more about it.
Is anybody surprised by the release window / date they've given here? Because a lot of people have seemed like shocked. And I said this before we went live, but like that always seemed like I did not expect this to be coming out next year, especially with a December reveal here at the end of the year. Like,
no, it's not a shock if you've paid attention to Rockstar in the past. Like GTA 5's trailer drops in 2011. We didn't get that for 2 years either. So I mean, this ain't nothing new.
It was the same sort of thing with Red Dead 2, I believe, as well, where they revealed that, I want to say like 2016 or 17. It wasn't out till 18. So there's always about a 12 to 18 month buffer before they've got these things coming out, and that's just if they don't get delayed too, because I think Red Dead got delayed like by a full year or something like that. So hopefully that does not happen this time around. But I think they've been very intentional with this, and they haven't shown anything off until they have been ready to show something off, because this sounds kind of goofy. And obviously we cover a lot of media stuff here at the site, but this is like a cultural moment more so than probably anything else we have seen and overall at our site this year. Like anything else that has come about, like this is bigger than Star Wars, Marvel, anything. This is quite literally the biggest entertainment property on the face of the earth. So this is a big one.
Yeah. So wild to see from those little crazy computer games we're playing how this is blown up. But a couple things. Is there something in the trailer? I hope there is a whole mini game in this that is just Florida, Too Fast, Too Furious style, like racing. Like yes. I saw the car culture footage in there, and I'm like, yes, I will spend a whole portion, like months of this game just doing that alone. Sounds like it would be amazing. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of just bizarreness. I mean, will this do more for educating us about Florida than anything else? Will we all become like half Floridaites after this? I'm also going to think how many artists are about to be eating off of this soundtrack is going to be crazy. Like that is going to be crazy. Yeah, Kodak Black just got a new wing to his house. Like, I'm sure Bad Bunny and like half the reggaeton community is going to be like at their own station and stuff. Like, it's going to be wild just to see like the soundtrack and the tie-ins alone. Like, you're talking about the biggest entertainment brand on the planet, but like, I'm just thinking, and I guess this is just how cynical I've become. I'm just thinking like, as a producer or marketer, like how many just brand ties it to just different things this is going to have. You know, the Miami Heat's going to get flexed out in their own, like some stadium. Like it's going to be crazy. Everything that they pump in, everybody who has a finger, like a little in the pot of this game is going to be nuts. So
without question.
Yeah. So here we are, and this is just a teaser. And already things are feeling like they're going to get pretty wild. I feel like it's going to be nuts to see the violence of this game, though. I mean, the graphics are getting to the point now where I feel like yanking somebody out of a car and possibly beating them up is going to get very disturbing. And I'm kind of like, at once. I mean, I'm just seeing the amount of work that went into the twerk department, and it's just like, what is the violence going to be like in this game? Seems like we are going to be having a lot of conversations about that. Can we bring back the old 90s video games are responsible for it all and Congress is against GTA 6? Quite possibly. I mean, I'm trying to have some fun. But yeah,
That's
I mean,
fun. As somebody who would have
that?
to cover that stuff, I said, as somebody who would have to cover that stuff, that's not fun. I don't like writing about the political side of all of this all the time.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, the massage part. Oh man, this is gonna get. Oh my god, I can't. My brain is starting. I want to shut this down because I feel like my brain is starting to get.
Well,
into,
I'll say this:
all the crazy things they've probably pumped into this, like crazy.
The video game industry is
game.
The video game industry, especially on like the PC side of things, is like the Wild West nowadays. Like this will get more scrutiny because it's Grand Theft Auto, but I can promise you there's like 10 times crazier stuff out there than anything that this game will do. You just have to go poke around on Steam and you'll find some very strange things that people are out there making. So
yeah, and you talk like violence. I don't think we're going to get to like Mortal Kombat levels of like gore and like dismemberment. They're going to keep it to a certain level.
And at the end of the day, it's kind of intrinsically cartoony. Like this is still a game where you'll hijack a jet and start flying through the city and shooting missiles everywhere, and then you'll jump out with a jetpack and shoot a rocket-propelled grenade at cars passing. Like it's kind of so over the top that sort of like Mortal Kombat, where it's just so goofy that you can't even take it serious to some degree. But like you said, Kofi, like the hijackings and stuff like that, I don't know, it might be a little bit more disturbing than it was during the PS2 era.
Oh yeah, I'm just thinking like if you can just get yourself an Uzi and get on like a high-speed bike and just go flying down a Florida street spraying things, this is beginning to feel like it's going to look kind of to get that point of realism and immersion where I don't know if I'll be sleeping well at night or I'm going to start changing slightly, and I hope people around me notice when I start playing a game because like yeah, we already see the effect of GTA and things like this on people. I mean, you can't give people Gran Turismo without them wrecking their cars. So we're going to see. It's going to be interesting. But at least I have a new round of Florida jokes, and I'm personally just happy about that.
I have one additional question for you guys, and I don't know.
Yeah,
this is a little bit more like inside, but how many developers and publishers around the globe do you think right now are watching this trailer with fear because they know they have to release a game 2 years from now to stack up against this? And also, I feel like this game's going to put a lot of other games that have come out the last few years to shame because I feel like the gaming industry has been getting pretty sloppy with rushed releases and stuff like that.
Yep.
And they've got this thing that's been cooking for a decade with quite literally infinite money to pour into it because GTA 5 just keeps hitting top 5, top 10 on the sales chart every month. So there is just no shortage of cash they can just keep pouring into it. I feel like this could really, really drastically impact the AAA development industry like as a whole. And I don't know if that means that devs are going to start waiting a way longer time to release their games or what, but there's going to be some big shifts that happen.
Well, I mean, look, it's interesting, right? Because I think that's like I think you're seeing the same thing happen on the movie and TV side, right? Like we got flooded with content of all of, middling quality basically. And now everyone's basically going to start dialing back to try and put out theoretically better stuff. And so if this is the first domino that kind of helps that fall, then great. But yeah, if I was a publisher right now, I'm calling everyone I can who may have an inside at Rockstar to be like, when is this game coming? Because it's funny, right? Because we see it happen on the movie side all the time. When a big movie claims a release date, movies either move out of the way or like they're stuck and they're like, well, we're going to get swallowed up.
The funny thing on the gaming side of things is that a lot of developers and publishers have just been like more open about it lately. Like I know a couple months back, Alan Wake got delayed because they were coming out the same day as Spider-Man, I think. And they just straight up put out a statement like, yeah, we're going to push the game back like a week or two. We know you guys want to play Spider-Man, so just play Spider-Man and then our game will be there a couple of weeks later. And that was that.
Logan, I think one of the interesting things will be when we get to when this finally drops, what does the live service world kind of look like in gaming? Because 2023 was kind of an indicator of this might not be working with the exception of like a handful of particular titles. We've seen stuff absolutely die on the vine when it arrives. And then we've seen things like Suicide Squad where they're trying to pull back as much as possible and not show you that it's actually a live service.
Yeah.
So by the time this drops, that industry might already be dead, and this thing just takes over.
Going to be. I don't
but
think
this is
but
there's an entrenched platform with GTA Online already, and everybody's just going to jump ship from that to this. So like they will not lose steam whatsoever in that regard.
Oh, I'm not saying 2025. I'm thinking that it's entirely possible this is the only game in town by that point.
Potentially, like I would be shocked to see what tries to go up against. Like if this is first half of 2025. I cannot imagine anything else wants to release within 6 months of this thing because, and I mean, a lot of it will depend on how the live service elements are ready to go at launch. Like I think Red Dead Online, everything was kind of delayed and they slow rolled everything out. If that happens here, then it could give other publishers confidence to release their games up against this because it would just be the single player element. But I would imagine Rockstar wants to immediately just come out of the gate firing. And again, they've had 8 to 10 years to work on this thing. So you would imagine they've got a lot ready to go.
I'm just looking forward to picking up Cyberpunk in 2025 for like $2 and trying it out. Just give it a go finally and be like, hey, it was $2. That sounds like fun. And then, give it a little twirl before I play this, So I think we got to the end of it. I think we did the thing. This has been the GTA 6 trailer reaction. I think we're all, who's not in for this, right? Like, even if you didn't get immediately gripped by this game, I think the FOMO alone, if you are a gamer, by the time this comes out, you could possibly get a fatal case of FOMO not playing this because most of your friends will probably disappear and be doing this. So we're going to be covering this, as always, on Comic Book Nation. Logan will be here. We'll all be here because this is, as we said, going to be one of the biggest things to talk about in the next year. So, any final thoughts, gentlemen?
No,
if you're under 18, start putting your PowerPoints together now for why your parents should buy you this game in 2 years.
Well said. Well said.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, kids. Yeah, you guys got to figure that one out. Sorry. If you are just getting into this because you're watching our GTA 6 reactions, we are Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com, and we do it all for geek culture. So in addition to gaming, we already dropped a whole episode. Me, Connor, and Jim hopped on this morning to talk about all the new trailers we got at CCXP this weekend. So be sure to subscribe to Comic Book Nation on your favorite podcast platforms and on our Comic Book YouTube page. And be here and join us every week where we talk all things geek culture and we drop multiple episodes. So we've already done a trailer kind of thing, a GTA trailer reaction. We got our comics episode coming up and our regular show every Friday. I'm Kofi Outlaw, and thank you for joining us for this GTA trailer reaction. We got a lot more to do and a lot more writing and a lot more comic book content to put out. So check out Comic Book Gaming when you get off this live stream to see all the more in-depth, intelligent breakdowns that Logan and the rest of our gaming team is doing. Otherwise, guys, thank you for hopping on in the middle of dinner and doing us. Our whole plans, like Rockstar, our plans for this trailer got totally ruined. So thank you guys for hopping on real quick and doing this with me. And we will see you guys out there. Peace.
See you.
Later.